Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry for the delay on the last video. I was in the process of making one and then I realised that it was just really bad, so I ended up redoing it. It's been a busy few weeks. If you're curious about stuff, I'll do an update video. The reality is that you're probably not, so I'll just do some Haikyuu content for you. Today I just wanted to do a quick one regarding tier lists, regarding like which players are actually good and which aren't right now. We've got a lot of characters which are still to be hit by the rebanner, such as like the Blazing Beach trio with Bokuto, Ione and Akashi and etc. We've got other key players coming up like Oshimi and Hirogami, right? So with that being said, let's talk about which players are actually worth summoning for. Let's get started, shall we? So I've reorganised these quickly, which might be why there was a bit of a weird cut. Alright, first let's start with Hinata, right? So I think Hinata, the original Hinata, is a solid A tier still. And the reason behind that is because I actually don't think he's been power crept as much as people think. He's got amazing strength potential with the way that his SR4 works, and he can also get his 100% awareness through essentially his critical receive, right? So it's not too difficult to circumnavigate and to make SP Hinata work, and he still scales particularly well. The difference is that you do need more dupes. That being said though, you can go on a receive team or a quick attack team, and he's pretty solid in both, which is pretty rare these days, so that's quite helpful. Next is SP Kemna. So for SP Kemna, the original, I think he has personally been power crept. So I'm going to put this in D tier, which will be power crept. And the reason behind that is that, well, he has basically, fundamentally, as a character, he is kind of starting to lose steam. Like he's viable, I guess. I think maybe I'll move him up to C tier actually, because he is viable still, and you would need to dupe him a lot. But like, personally, why would you ever use him over, say, V2 Kemna, right, for a receive team? Because V1 Kemna is, his whole thing is about reducing awareness and strength, but he doesn't reduce that much, and in the grand scheme of things, you know, these days when you've got characters like Shiratorizawa or Oikawa which produce 100% awareness, it doesn't really stop that in the slightest. Or even if you're going against like a quick team, right? You're playing against the new quick meta, which will be the Jazz Trio. You can't, minusing their awareness won't do anything, because they get guaranteed crits off other people's setting with the dominant stacks of Kageyama, right? So once again, completely pointless. Ultimately, I just feel like he doesn't really have much of a place anymore. I'll still be using him because I've got him, and it's better to keep him and like use him than trying to get another character at this point. But personally for me, I think he's a little bit power crept at this point, and that's why I'm going to put him in C tier. Next, we've got Nishinoya. He's just an S tier. I'm going to put it out now, like all of the Liberos go in S tier because there's like 2 of them. I think maybe there's going to be an argument with Haikyuu down the line, but it's hard to say. But yeah, all the Liberos are really good, so they're all just going in S tier for now. Suga, I think, is another C tier, and that's unfortunate because there's been a lot of power creep in this game, and I think Suga has his place with it being like a stamina-based character and whatnot. But you can get stamina regen from the coaches now, you can get it from SR2 Kunami. Like ultimately, stamina is not much of a resource which you need to use anymore and utilize in a certain way anymore. And so ultimately I feel like Suga doesn't really have a place. He used to be unique in the fact that he was a blocking setter and there wasn't many block players around or needed to create like block speciality. But that's just not the case anymore, and I also think that Kogenigawa for a specialized block team is just better. Next we've got Bokuto, and I think he's the definition of what we're going to be putting in the niche tier, and that's that he has his place, but his playstyle is very specific and you need to build a team somewhat around him to compensate, right? So obviously with Bokuto he can't spike unless he's in Team Morale Awakening, which he gets every 3 sets. No, not 3 sets, 3 points. As a result, it means that you need 2 characters which have low net crossing cooldowns which can compensate, or you need a spam hitter like an Ginjima or Aran, once again, to make up for it. Ultimately, I think he's pretty good still. He has his own space, especially in like club contests and like those high scoring modes, but unless you're running a very specific team, I don't think he's particularly useful. Akashi, I think, is another C tier power crept character. So same as Sugawara, he's just kind of like overshadowed by Oikawa and Shibaru now, and there's just not much he does. He doesn't produce as much awareness as Oikawa, and he produces a little bit more strength, but it's not that much. The dump isn't necessarily as good either, and in general, like, there's just not as much ceiling to him, where if you use the likes of Oikawa, he can serve, he's got 100% awareness on all your characters. It's a little bit less strength, but with dupes you can kind of change that anyways. I think ultimately he is just the better character, and he completely overshadows all of them. Ione. So Ione is probably the one I struggled the most with out of all the characters now. I think there's a situation where he actually falls down to B tier now, and the reason behind that is that the new block meta is with the new duo in regards to Utsukuchi and the V2 Ione, and so the Blazing Beach, like V1 Ione, just kind of falls a bit flat now. I think he's really solid, and anybody who has him, like myself, will get plenty of use out of him, but you will find yourself wondering if he's really the right unit going forwards if you're just trying to build a block team, right? Like, I wouldn't recommend anybody to pick him up over, say, V2 Ione if you're looking to build a block team. If you're just looking for another middle blocker, I'd say there's also better options as well. You've got, for instance, Hiragami, which we'll get to, but he's like amazing. You've got Tsuki, you've got Kuro, who, once again, these two are probably one of the best of the older SP units pre like first year of the game. And you know, you've even got the likes of Liev, where you've got like the bond with Kenma and whatnot. So there's some good middle blockers in the game now, and I don't think you need Iron anymore. But he's also not a bad unit, which feels like he's completely power crept like the rest of these setters here. Next we've got SP Suki. I think he's A tier, potentially even S. He's one of the most versatile characters in the game. He's got an amazing bond with Kuro, and he works really well as either a spiker or a blocker, and you can build him for both. And I think that's what makes him so potent, right? He's one of the only characters in the game where you can build him in a specific way and use him as you need, and that's extremely beneficial. Kuro, another A tier. I think he is probably one of the best like standalone middle blockers in the game. I'd even be potentially tempted to put him in S tier because of this. You could put him into pretty much any team as a blocker and he'll be great because of his ultimate, which literally allows him to basically just maintain a point. You do not lose a point as long as he touches the ball off of your block, because he will prevent them from, like, he'll prevent a team. One of the things which makes Kuro so potent is the fact that if he touches the block, if he touches the ball off a block with his ultimate, it is guaranteed that that ball will then be picked up by a receiver. Granted, it's not guaranteed if they'll then get blocked later because of a normal or a bad set, but ultimately he's one of the strongest middle blockers in the game. I use him so much at the minute with my block team and Koganagawa, and he is constantly my highest scoring unit by far. In general, he's a great buffer, and he's got a lot of upward mobility as well, with his SR4 also being really good for just giving people a bunch of free attack technique as well. Next we have Kunami. I mean, I think he goes in the niche tier, right? Yes, he is a unit which can function by himself, but realistically, the reason why everyone uses Kunami is to get him to SR2 and put him on the bench to get free value, right? That's what everyone uses him for. They use him for free stamina, and in that regard, he is the most overpowered unit in the game, because he's one of the only units in the game which actively contributes to the game whilst being off the court. So yeah, he's extremely strong in that regard, and I would recommend anyone to pick up Kunami on the rebanner and try and get him to SR2 when you can, because he's just absolutely busted. And my plan is to do exactly that, and once I've got my Hiragami and Hoshiyumi to the dupes which I want, he's going to be next, because that in general is just busted. Next we've got Koganagawa. I would say he's a solid A tier. Now, I really like Koganagawa. This might be my hot take or whatnot, but until the Jazz Trio came out, by far the weakest team was the Quick Attack team, which meant that having a block team as your defensive team was like extremely rewarding, because it meant that you weren't going to get countered very often. And Koganagawa is by far the best block setter. He also complements a block team really well as a buffer, with his ultimate literally doubling the power of a person's block, and that could be whilst he's backcourt, right? So in general, Kogunigawa is really strong. I would say that he's not necessarily needed as much anymore because you can use the likes of, say, Kuro, Tsuki, Hiragami, and Hoshimi to make a block core. But if you want a full counter, 5 to 6 player block team speciality, Kogunigawa is a must-have, and I would argue, in general, he's just a really solid and low-key slept-on unit, right? The only thing I would say is that his SR4 is low-key power-crept by Hiragami. With that coming through, you kind of don't need his ultimate as much anymore, because it will refresh so quickly with Hiragami's skill 1, which refreshes all block ultimate cooldowns. Next, we have the king of setters in this game, which has been meta for as long as time. Pretty much anybody which has been playing this game on JP has been running Oikawa with every team. You can block anything because he's just so good, right? He provides 100% awareness to the entire team. Whoever he's opposite to, he provides extra buffs regarding reducing the opponent's block and receive, and he skill resonance 2 and 4, he can also give them his own strength and attack technique stats, right? So ultimately, he's a really strong setter. He's probably the strongest setter in the game, you know, bar maybe one, which I'll talk about in a minute, but ultimately, he's just unbeaten, right? I think every person who can down the line who's looking to build a power team needs Oikawa, but any person trying to build a power team more broadly and a more flexible core, Oikawa would be a great pickup. And personally, I'm going to try and look to acquire him on Rebanner if I can afford him. Next is Iwazumi. I think Iwazumi is a solid S tier as well. The reason why I put that is because I think he's uniquely situated. He is one of the only wing spikers in the game with a receive ultimate, and not only that, he pairs extremely well with Oikawa, and therefore is extremely strong because Oikawa is extremely strong, right? He also provides morale and stamina, which are all really nice things at SR2. So for an SR2, he's a really nice pickup to have as well, because he's probably got one of the better SR2s in the game, in my opinion, as well. Next, we've got Ushijima. Ushijima, once again, the definition of a niche character. He is a spam hitter, and he can hit hard if you dupe him high enough, but basically he's kind of built around taking most of the hits and not doing really much else to either buff up the team or support in any other way, right? And he's okay, like he's really strong. I think if you want like a spam hitter to go with Oikawa and you want that consistent hitting, unless you're going to dupe Korai to SR4 and somehow have Hiragami on the whole time, you're not going to get another character which is remotely good enough, which can hit consistently enough as Ushijima V1. Tendo. Right. So, I think, personally, Tendo is the worst unit in the game. I don't see the purpose behind Tendo. He works specifically as a quick and power team middle blocker. He can only be played with either Oikawa, because he will block and use up awareness to block on his cooldowns based on Oikawa's awareness, which synergizes him well. Or he can be used with the SP Mia twins with his bond, and he can crit once a set or rally or whatever. If I'm being honest, I don't think he's particularly good. Like, he's not the best blocker which you'd run for a power team. You'd run, once again, the likes of Kuro and Hiragami, or Suki Hiragami. You know, like he's Ione even, like he's fine, but he's not amazing. I wouldn't ever be like, yes, I need to run Tendo. And then on the quick attack team, I think he's more used to supplement the twins. So personally, I just don't see the point in Tendo. I think there's just better options all around. Right, next we have Ginjima. Ginjima, I personally think, is a solid B tier. I think Ginjima is a decent all-round player. I think one of the things which slept on about him as well is the fact that he can also increase his power attack based on quick attack boosts as well. So say if a team buffs his quick attack boost by like 500 stat points, he will gain that 500 stat points, and that will go into his ultimate power attack. And as a result, it makes him quite a flexible unit. If needs be, you can put him in a few other places. Kind of functions like Tanaka, in the sense that he has 2 or 3 really good spikes, and that's about it. And he's also played a little bit like Hiragami and Hoshiyumi in that he benefits from countering the other team. He's ultimately not a bad unit, and I'd say for free he's very good as well. You can use him in a lot of situations, but I'm also, you know, he's not the best unit in the world, and I'd never recommend to build a team around Ginjima or to have him as like a core member of, say, a power team, and you're looking to build a nice power team. The only reason I would use him in my power team personally is because I actually don't have that many good players for power teams, so he would be used to fill out that team, and he would still be a very good addition, right? Finally, we've got the twins. I think the twins are the definition of niche. Osamu less so. I'd put Osamu actually in probably A tier, because Osamu has he's one of the few non-middle blockers, once again, with quick spike in the game. And Atsumu I put in the definition of niche because he basically cannot function without either a specific composition with Hiragami, Kuro, maybe Tendo, Osamu to get their attack technique buff, or he needs SR4 to kind of lower that attack technique buff so that it's like viable, or he needs to be paired with Kageyama, which is the more realistic and viable option. I've done a whole video on Atsumu and the original build for Atsumu, and how that just like how complicated he is to build around and difficult he is to build around. And then I've also recently in my last video done a updated quick team build guide on why Atsumu is really good but really specifically built, right? So if you want to look at more detail there, go into that video. I'd really recommend it if you're into quick teams. But the TLDR is that because he needs such a high attack technique threshold to reach his target, he's just not that good. That being said though, if he's paired with the right people, he can be an absolute menace and really buff the stats needed in this game. Next, we've got the two best players in the game. I think every player needs to pick up these characters. Hiragami and Hoshiyumi. These two are the two best characters in the game, hands down. The reason why? Because Hiragami, for starters, is one of the more solid blockers in the game, and he can also reduce block on the cooldowns. 2, Hoshiyumi is literally the best unit in the game, which counters everybody and has every tag in the game as well, so you can play any position which you want him to play, and he's one of the most flexible units. Not only that, get him to SR4, and his ultimates have then got a reduced cooldown because his block skill becomes an ultimate, which Hiragami can then produce, which means he can then have a 4-letter crossing spike ultimate. Pair that with the fact that they've also got an amazing bond which boosts players' counter. Throw in the fact that they've also got an amazing bond which allows your team to get a stat boost based on the fact that you counter the other team, and that even applies further for them too. Overall, they're just like the best two units in the game. Like, you need a blocker, and you've got the most versatile and one of the strongest units in the game as well. Like, why wouldn't you pick these two up? They will play in your quick team perfectly. They will play in your block team amazingly. They will play in your receive team adequately. Like, you still need a blocker, so you can still put Hiragami in blocking, and Hoshiyumi has a tag, and he's a receive tag, and he's good and offensive, and he's a good offensive option. Also getting the receive buff from the also getting the receive buff from the final exam Kemaliev thing as well, because he's got a quick attack tag. Like, ultimately he's really strong, and then obviously he's good in power attack teams as well. Finally, I keep saying finally, we've still got a ways to go. Next up, Tanaka, Yamamoto. Tanaka, B tier. He's okay. Like there's literally nothing about him which is particularly special. I'd say he's probably the low end of B tier as well. Like, he's fine, he does a lot of debuffing, which can be cool, but he doesn't particularly, he's not the strongest power attacker. Like, I don't see why you'd ever run him over, say, Iwazumi, Ushijima, and Hiragami, Hoshiyumi, or even Bokuto. Like those characters, which you kind of see in power teams already, I wouldn't know why you'd run them like Tanaka over them. That being said though, he could maybe see play in a receive-based team, only purely because obviously he's got that receive tag. I don't know, I think that's a bit of a stretch personally, but yeah, he's alright. Yamamoto, on the other hand, is kind of high B, low A. I don't really know. I think I'm going to put him in high B. And the reason behind that is because he is a bit more self-sufficient, can hit a little bit harder, and is overall just a slightly better unit. He also has a really good bond with Kemma V2, which is really helpful because realistically you're probably putting him in a receive team. Because once again, why would you run Yamamoto when you've already got, say, Sakura, Hoshiyumi, even like Iwazumi, Ushijima, Bakuto, like once again, units which are probably just as good if not a bit better, right? So, Yamamoto, probably top of B tier, but he's got a lot of room with what kind of characters he can play with in terms of a receive unit. Next, I would say Kemma is the best setter in the game at the minute, Kemma V2. You might be a little bit confused why. That is because Row is bugged. There is a bug in JP, which to my knowledge they still haven't fixed, where he is just receiving perfectly all the time. He's forcing his team to receive perfectly constantly. And it was only meant to be once per rally, but for some weird reason it's bugged and it's happening all the time, and that's just made him really strong as a result. Yeah, I don't know. Until they fix that, he's literally just going to be broken. He's going to be one of the best receivers in the game. Like, unironically, he's at the top of most JP servers at the minute, so he's extremely strong, best setter in the game, somehow even better than Haikyuu, who would have thought. Liev, I think he's a solid A tier, I think he's a really good spiker. Obviously the bond with Kemma as well just really raises him up that little bit more. I would like to see where they put him in the future, and kind of where he slots in, because I don't think he's needed, but he's an alright unit, he's an all-round solid unit, he's like very much low A tier, but he can contribute to a lot, and yeah, once again it's the bond with the best setter in the game. Same with Iwazumi to an extent, right? Next we've got the Jazz Trio. So, on their own, the Jazz Trio aren't anything crazy. I think like Hinata is like probably the most universal, and even then I'd probably put him like, I don't know, high B, probably low A actually. And then, but Kageyama's extremely niche. Once again, you need enough setters to be able to justify the comp. With the amount of setters which are in the quick attack specialty, it's definitely doable. But basically, he requires other setters to function. That is what it is. I'd say once we go into the after school and Futakuchi, I would say they're also niche with like kind of the caveat that like if they're played in a block team, they're probably like A tier once again. But it's like if they're not played in a block team, they're really niche. Like Ione is good regardless. Futakuchi is solid in the block team, but not really much else. And that's kind of where I'm at the minute. Don't really know where to put them. They're probably the most difficult to peg because they can. Surely that would make them niche, right? Yeah, you know what? I'll put them in niche. Yeah, I'm gonna put them in niche because ultimately I think their strength comes from the fact that they both work in tandem with each other, with Ione taking block cooldowns and then Futakuchi doing better when his block cooldown is taken, and then etc. Excuse me, feeding off each other. But yeah, I just personally think that they are specifically for block teams, and if you don't have a block team, the units themselves aren't particularly that great because Ione relies on being able to take lots of block cooldowns off all at once, and then Futakuchi kind of relies on someone using block skill and hitting and so on. Right, we've now got the last of the SPs, like the kind of last two banners. I'd say these are some of the hardest to rank, so take these with a pinch of salt because they're a lot less vetted within the scene. But in terms of Shigeru, I would say he's probably like one of the best tower setters in the game. He's the only one which can compete with Haikyuu right now, right? Like, so I would probably put him A tier, and I would also put him probably above Kanagawa and just below the Firework Festival Duo. Because at the end of the day, he provides some of the most awareness and strength out of any person in the game, like any setter in the game, although it's only around Team Morale Awakening, but he then also ends Team Morale Awakening and it keeps Ushijima going. It's a whole thing, but I think it works really well. I think, once again, Ushijima V2, extremely niche as well, once again works as a spam hitter, but only outside of Team Morale Awakening, which means you kind of need Shigeru to function, unless you want to run him as a normal hitter, and then you run like Bakuto, so it limits how much team morale you get, and then, you know what I mean, circumnavigating things like that. I'm not really sure. Either way, I think he's a very specific pick, and I think he's probably even more specific and utility, like in how he needs to be used than the original SP Ushijima. Next we've got Hanamaki. I mean, he's free, he's fine. He's a receive unit with mad team morale. I would personally put him in niche because he's got a receive and a set skill, and that can once again be really useful but because his core is built around the power core, I don't see how he would get much use outside of the trio, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, he could replace Iwazumi, but then you've lost your power tag. Maybe you could use him in the quick attack core as a receiving unit instead. That's kind of something I talked about briefly in my last video, but once again, it's like, it's not anything too crazy. Like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as the be-all end-all, right? So yeah, I think he's currently a particularly niche pick, but he's also free, so I think he's still very good value, right? And then lastly, for the last duo, we have Haikyuu and Kita, which I'm so glad both of them are finally getting SP units, by the way. I'm still waiting on Aran. I've been waiting on Aran for ages, but Haikyuu and Kita are a really good start. Haikyuu, off the top of my head, is like really solid. Obviously he's a lib, so once again the libs kind of go all together because I think any lib is really solid. But I really like Haikyuu at the minute. My first thoughts are he will go really well, if not perfectly, with the Kenma V2 team, and running like a Nekoma core around like, say, Liev, Haikyuu, Yamamoto, maybe like Kuro, and that's your 5. Then you've got maybe like probably Hiragami Hoshigumi, right? Like, yeah, and that would be a very solid quick core. I mean, receive core. Kita, I'm really interested to see on. I think it really depends on what the bond is between Haikyuu and Kita, because currently we don't know as of the time of recording. I would say in my head, I want to put him high B, but like he could also go to S or A. We just don't know. The thing is with Kita is that he's actually debuffs your team as well as your enemy and reduces their awareness by like quite a lot. But every time he receives, he increases their attack technique and can also get rid of one of the stacks of his debuff as well, which he's caused. So potentially he'll be good, but if he's not picking up most bulls, then you'll be in a situation where he's not providing enough attack technique to justify the decrease in awareness and strength. But time will tell. The bond may kind of do something about that, where it will massively increase attack technique, or it could just remove a debuff at the end of each round, which would actually be huge because that would kind of solve a lot of his issues, right? But we'll have to see. Finally, I wanted to talk about the URs. I think the URs are probably one of the more slept on units in the game, as at the end of the day, we can now dupe them pretty easily thanks to the chain packs, and as well, a fully duped UR is still better than a base SR. Potentially, a base SP. Potentially even an SR2 as well. It's just the bonds which kind of would separate them. That being said though, Ginjima, power crept like crazy. Who else is power crept? Okuto, crazy power crept. Natsumu, power crept. Also, don't even know if he was good to begin with, like, to be perfectly honest. We have, I would say, Osamu, I would probably put as power crept. I'm actually going to go back on this. So Natsumu is niche, I'll explain in a second. And then Osamu is probably power crept because ultimately there's just a better version of him now, and there's enough quick attack units in the game now that you can kind of get away with it. You know, you've got the trio, you've got Liev, which can be a good attacking option, Hiragami, Hoshigumi, so you're kind of alright now. You've got Sakura, who I would say is probably one of the better units in the game. And the only reason I say that is because he's a UR unit which can be duped really easily, and he's got a nice easy bond with Komori, which is a massive receive buff. Ultimately, I would say he's probably here in A tier, right? Where he's probably maybe not the best in terms of what he raw output, right? And, you know, maybe not even the best in terms of bonds, but like he's got a really solid bond still, which is not hard to activate because there's only one other unit which is a lib. And then on top of that, he also has a very dupable situation because he's a UR character, so he can easily get to SR5, right? And then he's, I don't know, 26, 28k power, and you know your standard SP unit sits at like 21 at base or something. So ultimately, I think he'll be fine. Lastly, we've got Kageyama. I think Kageyama's like a solid high B, low A. He's fundamentally lower stats than a lot of the other SPs, but he's also higher than all of the other URs, bar Komori and Sakura, who are SP grade. He sits somewhere in between the UR and the SP grade characters. And he's fine. I think Red Panda really likes him a lot more than normal Kageyama, like SP Kageyama. I disagree, but I think he provides a quick attack option for a lot of characters, which is pretty helpful, right? So it's fine. Then we've got Hiragami, Power Crept, Shiyumi, I think goes in C tier, because I genuinely think that like a duped Hoshiyumi is better than pretty much all of these units right here, and is more useful because he can constantly regain stamina and spam his cooldowns. Just gonna be real, he's just better. Oikawa is also in niche, and the reason why I put these two in niche is because they can be used as pinch servers, right? They've got two of the best serving stats in the game. Atsumu, obviously they've been power crept by the SP versions, but Atsumu is kind of less easy because he can't use, like his SRs do not scale with his ult, his serve. Where Oikawa on the other hand, his dupes scale with his serving capability, and as a result, he could actually be one of the best pinch servers in the game. Say if for some weird reason you're running the likes of Akashi or Shibaru, he could be a really good pinch server to come in to replace them just for the point or whatever, because he ultimately has one of the best serving skills in the game, it scales extremely well, and also his SR4 is serve based with a lot, I think his SR2 as well, so ultimately the more you dupe him, the better his serve gets as well, which only aids you. Kuro, I want to put him in niche so bad, but he's just not good enough. I think Kuro's been power crept, you would never use him for anything in particular. The only thing I would use him for is that I'm looking to dupe him to put in my quick attack team down the line. So once I've kind of got my Sakura and Komori max duped, I'll be looking at Kuro and Oikawa as teams which I'll put in like a quick, in niche situations for like triple clash or something like that, right? That's just because of the resources I've got. Personally, if you haven't picked up Kuro before, do not go out of your way. He's unfortunately probably one of the worst units of the UI units left as well, so like he's just really not worth picking up because unfortunately he doesn't do quick attacks particularly well, but he doesn't do blocking that great either these days, so it's like he hasn't really got anything to work for. But yeah, that's the tier list. They're roughly in the order which I actually believe them to be of use as well. Ultimately, this is subject to change, but a lot of these niche characters are actually really good. They just need specific use cases. Meanwhile, a lot of these S tier characters I would say are must pickups, like Hiragami, Hoshiyumi, must pick. If you're getting a receive team, you need Kenma V2. If you're serious about power team, Oikawa, unless maybe Shibaru really becomes that good. Once again, if you get Oikawa, Iwazumi subsequently. And then you need either like one of the SP libs or Komori, whatever works for you. I'll probably actually do a lib comparison breakdown video next, because we're now at the point where we actually have 4 Liberos which do different things, and you actually have an option now to pick between what you want. But realistically, before it was just you picked Nishinoya or you got Komori, and you happened to pick up one or the other at one point, and that was it. Yeah, there were some differences. So like Komori was better with teams which actually had like receive skills, and meanwhile Nishinoya was better as like a sole receiver, but fundamentally they were pretty similar and that they were both just very good Liberos, and that's what you needed. So yeah, that's the tier list. If you guys have any questions, or if you think you should have moved anything, let me know in the comments below. But I personally think that these are more or less, I think this is a pretty good tier list right now, and I wouldn't really change it too much to be honest, because I'd say this is pretty solid. But yeah, thank you very much for watching guys. This is going to be one of my longer ones. Yeah, this is going to be one of my longer ones for obvious reasons, but what I'll do is from now onwards I will actually use this and then just slowly update it as time goes on. So what I might do is every couple of themed banners I will adjust the tier list and essentially just add the new characters in. But yeah, thank you very much guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.